10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff.
Holy hell, I think this is the closest we've to on time that we've been in the last month and a half.
At least.
Don't get me started. Screw it. It's Thursday night. Get me started on this 19th day of March, calendar year 2020. Welcome to the Shooters Gallery live, L-I-V-E live. Where is Dwayne Johnson to make that noise when I need him on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network? Shooters Gallery in full effect, going for maybe an hour, maybe 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. Live from the ever-evolving and devolving at the same time landmark known as Studio One. I am the Magic City Motor Mouth, Fast Eddie Lane. Welcoming in tag team partners Shane Knowles.
It has been a week like none other in my lifetime.
Welcoming in tag team partner Phil Stamper.
I just want to bed. I'm so tired.
Normally, Ted Guinness would be joining us on this Thursday night edition. He is actually on his way back from Alaska covering the 2020 Iditarod and currently is navigating with a four-wheel unicycle. Do the math. Right now, first off, we're practicing social distancing better than Hangman Adam Page has with the rest of the elite, and longer too. We're in three separate areas. Normally 3 different states, 3.5 so to speak. I count Alabama as 0.75 of a state, so between technically me and Shane, it's 1.5 states. From there, by the way, I don't know if anybody caught Scott Van Pelt on SportsCenter last night. I think he was ready to turn cartwheels because he actually had a result that he could pass along on the show. So congratulations, Thomas Warner of Norway. I hope I pronounced that correct. It is Warner. He crossed nearly 1,000 miles of Alaskan terrain to win the 2020 Iditarod Trail Sled Dog Race early Wednesday morning, yesterday, a few hours ago. It completed the storied competition in just over 9 days and 10 hours. And when he finally figured out exactly what was going on in the rest of the world, he turned right back around and went the other way for another 9 days and 10.5 hours. Tell you what, going to flip the script, having a little bit of fun. Like I said, trying to get rid of the worries and the drama, the headaches for just a little while. We know they're there. We're not going to ignore them. We're going to talk about them later. But was brought up with a very intriguing scenario a little bit earlier. Shane, I'm flipping it your way.
Well, this came about from a call Eddie and I had over the weekend. I think sometimes people are finding out in this last week you're going to talk about things, read things that maybe you ordinarily wouldn't. Eddie and I were just shooting the breeze, and I casually mentioned to him about the Conrad Thompson podcast, about how he and Bruce Pritchard on Something to Wrestle With did not have an actual tape show this past week, but it was about Ric Flair's time in the World Wrestling Federation / WWE, which turned into, them talking about things. But, one that I'd heard in passing was about that Ric Flair might have been talking to the World Wrestling Federation around 1988. Bruce said it was serious to the point that Vince was handling all negotiations. There was no Pat Patterson. There was no Lanza or Ross or Pritchard or anyone else at that time, that Vince was talking to Rick directly about coming in to be the first guest on the Brother Love program, which, of course, is the on-screen persona of one, Bruce Pritchard. But for him to be the first guest of the Brother Love program, unannounced, challenge the Macho Man Randy Savage for the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam, and off to the races. And the thing I was telling with Eddie, and he said, let's talk about this with Phil, would be, we're going way back in our time capsule time machine here. 1988, SummerSlam, the first incarnation would have had Flair and Savage arguably near their primes, I would say, because you get to thinking about it and what that would have done, because Ted Turner was close to buying the NWA, turning it into WCW. We've known the joke that Ric Flair was the one talent he knew when he made that acquisition. Would Ted have still made the acquisition if Flair wasn't a part of it? we would not have seen Ric Flair's 1989 with the trilogy of matches against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, or the legendary feud, the I Quit match with Terry Funk. We wouldn't have seen 1990, the passing of the torch, so to speak, dropping the title to Sting at the Great American Bash. What would that have done for Nitro, Bischoff? So since I've covered just a few scattered in my brain, I guess thoughts were, I'll go to Phil. If Flair came over in 1988, maybe not so much what that would have done for the World Wrestling Federation, what would it have done for all of that? The NWA, the downfall, WCW, whatnot. Would it still have been sustainable? Because before I turn it over to you, I think a lot of people say, yeah, it would. If you look back on that, when Flair left in 1991, they weren't in any position. You know, everyone remembers that debacle of the Great American Bash with Luger and Wyndham. So even more so in 88, what would the landscape have been like, the fallout?
Phil, fire away. Let's have fun.
Nothing like a loaded question.
Sorry, I get a little long-winded.
I think, because I'm trying to now remember when certain things were happening in what order and who did what when. You know, I think for the merger, I think it still would have gone through. I think, you know, of course it would have hurt without Flair, and that probably would have meant a lot. But at the same time, there's ways they could have brought up, like, oh, look at the history we've had of great stars such as blah, 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 blah. And now we're moving to the future, even though, you know, they weren't. And then eventually did with the NWO. I don't know. Part of me is like, would it have triggered things like the explosion we saw with the NWO earlier? Maybe not the NWO taking place, but with other stars coming in, because they were sort of going to need to do this almost bidding war between talent. And would that have triggered that 10 years earlier? That probably is my biggest questionable takeaway.
I think it would have
Did
changed.
I lose you guys? Because now I don't hear anybody.
No, I actually had my mic muted. Can you hear me now?
You're super duper quiet. Hold on.
Me, super duper quiet? What the hell are you thinking?
Oh, there it goes. I don't know. I maybe I hit my own headphone off. Sorry about that.
It's okay. I think it would have actually changed the landscape in more ways than one, and I don't know how the NWA WCW situation would have actually progressed or regressed. There's a number of different things in play. Considering 1988, they were still on the backside or the midstream, so to speak, of part of the strong scenarios with the Four Horsemen and the evolution and de-evolution. There's that phrase again of that group. I meant to look this up and I didn't, to try to figure out exactly who some of the franchise players were in calendar year 88. Because remember, they were coming off Bash 87 and everything that took place in one of the hottest years for the company. And then if Flair had turned around and abandoned ship, that would have actually put a lot, that not only would have put a lot of stress on booking to try to build somebody into that role, you might have seen a whole cast of characters in an entirely different light, not only in the National Wrestling Alliance, but also in WWE. Because if Flair had made that move in 88, and
because you think 88, what the Clash of Champions with Sting, where he made him in the 45-minute time limit draw?
Yeah.
That had barely just taken place. Luger wasn't ready. You had the talent that came over from the UWF with Watts, like your Eddie Gilberts, your Mike Rotundas, your Rick Steiners. I'm like you. I don't know who would have been at that level.
That would have been a year after, because 87, I believe, early 87 is when that merger started to take place. 88, some of those characters had already come and gone, because remember, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, Missy Hyatt, they were trying to factor in Hot Stuff International, and I think Gilbert left. I think, once again, I may be wrong. Folks, if you're listening and you want to correct me on something, or you have something you'd love to add, Twitter's running right now, at Beyond Ringside on Twitter. Also, Facebook.com/Beyond Ringside. Our friends page is running. Feel free. Love to hear your perspectives on this one. Now, granted, a lot of people in the 30 and under bracket aren't going to get this conversation. And I'm not selling anybody short, but by the same token, it's like this was a time when it was completely different in the world of pro wrestling. The thing that I liked about the way that Jim Crockett Promotions and the National Wrestling Alliance put everything into play before before the merger with Turner, or the buyout by Turner, however you want to put it, is they seem to have a better grasp on how to balance the building of new talent. It's really weird because I think Ole was doing some of the booking during that particular run, and as well as JJ was handling a lot of talent relations. I think he was still with him in that particular run. But yeah, it just came down to, yeah, he was. I'm going back over pay-per-views in my mind and certain television shows in my brain, because there's some of these I can actually remember without having to look them up. That's a scary thought, because I can't even remember what I had for breakfast this morning. I think the balance of power would have definitely been in danger, and I think the NWA would have found a way to genuinely recover and bounce back, but not nearly as strong as the flagship, because a lot of longtime fans are going to remember. And one thing that stands out about what Shane was saying during his part right off the bat reminds me of a promo cut by Ric Flair when he was making a reference to the fact directly to Vince McMahon that his father was on the board that voted Flair to his first world title. So obviously the soft spot for Flair runs generational with the McMahons. Obviously it's still in place right now. Is it a soft spot in the heart or a soft spot between the ears? But legitimately speaking, yeah, that would have made a whole lot of things a whole lot different. Now, my question is, would Sting have been made by anybody else other than Rick? Phil.
Wow, wow. I mean, in many ways, again, the story drove that. Because in the same respect, it's sort of like, if I move it a little forward, if I move it to the mid 2000s, would AJ Styles be AJ Styles without Jeff Jarrett? Where AJ Styles is a, not pun intended, phenomenal talent. Sting was a good talent in that age, where I think he would have been okay. But you're right, without a Ric Flair, that's an amazing question. I don't even know if I have a good answer to that. If they kept the Four Horsemen without Flair in '88 and used someone else to really be sort of the ringleader of that, yes, there still would have been a Sting. It would have had a different feel to it, but I will say yes.
Shane?
The only, as Phil was talking, the only person that would come to mind to me that I think that could, A, be taken serious by the fans to do this, and B, know how to do it, would have been Terry Funk. I'm not sure that, and that's probably an indictment of the roster when you get thinking about it, because Harley Race was done by that time. He was already in the World Wrestling Federation. Dusty would not be long for the NWA much longer if we're talking SummerSlam '88. Who else? I mean, Wyndham was already over as the Widowmaker. I'm not sure exactly when Arn and Tully defected as the Brainbusters, but you get to looking around that roster and you're like, yeah, that's a beautiful point of the fallout. If Flair was not there, who makes Sting? And is Sting the guy? Because so many people fought for Luger to be that guy. And Flair was insistent that, he was going to drop it to Sting, not Luger, but would it have won out the other way or for someone else?
If my notes are correct, Arn was with WWF 88-89 and returned to WCW in 89. So that actually could have been the reformation of the Four Horsemen in the WWF.
Mm-hmm.
Something to think on. I mean, if Tully and Arn were already up there in '88, and Flair could have made that debut at SummerSlam against Savage. Remember, we're living technically in that point. Cable is still a growing industry. If you have Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard in the same promotion one more time, especially coming off what they did 86, 87, that's box office. That's money. That is a license to print money legally. I mean, and I'm going through my mind about who would be that fourth. But if the franchise mark of the Four Horsemen was actually a Jim Crockett Promotions trademark that got transferred over to Ted Turner and was not a franchise mark by Rick, obviously wasn't, or JJ. I think JJ was not long for WCW after that point too. Because, well, no, depending on exactly when the different people running it were in place. God help me about the Bill Watts and Jim Herd runs. What else do you think could have been affected? Other than the whole damn roster.
Right? I don't know. It is hard to speculate because, you know, certainly people would have been used to fill that void.
True.
And it's just hard to speculate. Like, who would have been then? Okay, here's a good question for both of you. Who would have been the man?
Ugh.
No Ric Flair. Who becomes sort of the signature WCW World Heavyweight Champion at that time period?
Shane?
And, you know, that parlays into what my last answer. I don't know. I don't know if Steamboat would have had the series of matches with anyone else like he did with Flair. Let's say Flair made Sting at Clash, and he did, but he was grooming him to take it from him. If he's not there, the Horseman's not there. I mean, I'm kind of getting flabbergasted as I think about that roster in 88, 89, but one other part of that, imagine how much bigger I think Brother Love would have been as a character. Because even though he's synonymous with that time frame, if he's the guy who brings out Flair for the first Brother Love show, I think maybe the stature of Brother Love gets a little higher in the World Wrestling Federation. If they do the Intercontinental title match with Savage at 88, I don't know, but I can't imagine Flair would be brought in at 88 to job at that point. And would we have actually seen the Hogan-Flair feud, you know, Mania 88, 89? It parlays so much into the Mega Powers, or they still went that route. It's just, and I guess that's the thing when Bruce was like, no, I'm serious. He said it was Vince handling those negotiations only, and basically the offer was on the table, and Rick felt the loyalty to Jim Crockett Promotions and just couldn't leave those guys. Now, and that's the thing, appreciate the loyalty, but if you knew the company was going to be sold 3 or 4 months later, would you have made the move? Probably.
The first Clash of the Champions was March 27, 1988, and that went to, that was the one that was going directly, I think, right up against WrestleMania. Was it not?
Mm-hmm.
So if Flair had been brought in for SummerSlam 88, that would have put it around late July or August, which, knowing what happened at Clash 1, March 27, no winner, no loser in that particular regard, but Flair still held the title. I think that probably would have been landmark. Because at that point, Flair would have already re-solidified his reputation that actually has never been tarnished, but he would have even taken it to another level in re-solidification that he'd be willing to put over young talent, new talent, build new stars. And isn't what this is halfway all about? Make your money the best way you can and get somebody else over in the process. I got no issue with that.
That's what it should be.
Mm-hmm. In a perfect world. Here's a loaded question for you. 800-pound gorillas abound in the world of professional wrestling over the last 24 hours. Number one. And we go around the horn on this one, have a little fun. Actually, no, I'm going to wait because I went to Shane for the opener. Philip, do you have one in play that you'd like to work with right off the bat?
I really don't. My world, as many others, has been all coronavirus stuff and response, and my brain hasn't shut down to go into the world of entertainment in 2 weeks, really.
Then
So-
I will give you mine to work with, the one that I was going to lead with.
Okay.
WrestleMania, now a 2-night event from the Performance Center, and there's some wild rumors floating around. But I'll say, for the sake of argument and known fact, from the Performance Center, and also hosted by future NFL Hall of Famer Rob Gronkowski. Your thoughts on that one, brother? Run with it. I just short circuited Phil.
I know. So this is definitely going to be an experiment. And, I saw a lot of naysayers, of course, from a lot of random Mark sites. And then I saw somebody who's actually a producer from the WWE make a comment like, we're at a point of measuring the building for the effects we want to put into the building. So knowing that the physical space is going to need to kind of look busy or filled or some way active, so it isn't just all that negative space, looks like it's going to be addressed, which will be amazingly good for them to do. Now they have some time where they can do some things they haven't ever done before. Things like, can we script out vignettes in a very different way and make it part of the show that'll be a new experience? The 2-day experience, I have a pause. There's part of my brain that goes, this is really interesting, and we've kind of joked, yeah, we may need it because of everything they try to throw at everybody. Now I'm at a point of what are they gonna do for 2 days?
You don't think they have enough matches planned?
Say that again. You broke up again.
You don't think they have enough matches planned?
Oh, they'll have more than enough. It's just the layout of how they normally do business is what concerns me.
Shane?
Will it be...
Sorry, continue.
I don't know. Will it just be, quote, business as usual? And it can't be. Hold on, sorry. It can't be just normal business as usual, so they're going to have to do something different. So I am interested in seeing what they pick up and run with.
Shane?
Well, my initial thought on a 2-night event was, this is silly, this is WrestleMania. And then I thought about it for a second, and I said, wait a minute. There's nothing else going on pretty much in this entire country. Any and all entertainment events are canceled, postponed, whatever wording we want to throw on it. So the fact that Vince, the old carnival barker in him, still has the show must go on mentality, why not stretch it out over 2 nights, I guess? Because, I'm looking at him. Peach State is supposed to have a live event that Saturday, April the 4th. As of now, it's postponed. So if you tell me it's going to be a 2-night WrestleMania, I have something to watch that Saturday evening as opposed to that Sunday. I do think the dynamic, it's going to be weird altogether not being in a live stadium at Raymond James in Tampa, where you're talking 70,000 plus as opposed to 7 or less in the Performance Center. All the pyro, all the entrances, the jumbotrons, everything's just going to feel so different. I hate it for everyone, but I hate it for guys like Drew McIntyre, who was in the WWE, went back down to the independents, worked all across the country, got back to the WWE. Now this is his first big title shot, and it's going to be, always looked at as lesser than, regardless of the result of the match. As far as Gronkowski, I actually like this, because when I had heard that he was signing and was going to debut on SmackDown, I rolled my eyes thinking, oh my God, they're going to try to throw this guy in a match less than a month from WrestleMania. But having him as the host is beautiful, because it garners that outside interest. Gronk is a very big name in the sporting world, and there's still the opportunity to tease an angle either the first night or the second night for down the road without having to throw him in the ring, giving it away, so to speak. But a part of me wishes they would take maybe the wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, and kids and fill out the performance center to make it look like studio wrestling, like the NWA does now, just for some sort of crowd interaction.
I am going to step away for just a brief second. I'll be right back.
Go ahead. For me personally, the minute that I saw that WrestleMania was going to be a 2-night event, the light bulb went on over my head and said, Vince caught a clue from Wrestle Kingdom. There would have been nothing wrong with a 2-night event. There is nothing wrong with a 2-night event. And I'm inclined, and I wish I could find out the numbers for the number of people who are whining about this. What are they doing over 2 nights for? How many of these people, A, are the same ones who tuned into a 2-night Wrestle Kingdom? Or B, how many of these same ones are complaining that WrestleMania is too damn long? There's something that comes into play on this.
I'm sorry, that could be the tagline for this year. WrestleMania, 2 days damn long.
Yeah, there you go. 2 damn days. Now, if they run both shows 3 hours, we will know that it was a good move to break it to 2 days. Realistically speaking, and this is where dear Vince, Hunter, Steph, Linda, Bruce, Paul, all of you, you don't have to make this a marathon. You're in a very precarious spot. But realistically speaking, you've already done the test feeds by moving Raw and SmackDown to the PC, Performance Center. Acronyms, kid. For me, it's very simple. I have called, and this is where my previous words are going to be brought back into play. I was there, figuratively speaking, when the reference was made to WrestleMania being the showcase of the Immortals. Not an everybody gets a Mania payday because we like you. Or we're trying to be fair. I come from a time where participation trophies didn't exist. First, runner-up, third, whatever. That was it. After 3, no more. Not even at a bake sale. So if your fruitcake was 4th best, it sucked. They can take these 2 days and make them 150-minute shows, 2.5 hours each, 30-minute pre-show lead-in. We don't need an hour-long lead-in for Mania on both days. No way, no how. No way, shape, form, or fashion is what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
I also think that they've learned valuable lessons from what's happened with SmackDown and Raw and AEW. We'll get to that in a minute. So, you don't need to run 2, 3.5, 4-hour shows, including pre-show and possibly post-show. Like I said, 150 minutes, 2.5 hours long with a 30-minute pre-show. Space it out, spread it out, give your in-ring talent time to shine and be themselves. I concur with the concept, people like Drew McIntyre. This is their big shining moment, and it's being done in front of no crowd. You know something? You're still getting that moment. A lot of us in this industry remember who came up through grassroots promotions, or as a lot of you like to call it, the indies. Every damn company is an indie. There is no territory. They're just buildings we run on a regular basis, and if anybody else tries to run them, we ask why, then open fire. And I'm not even going to do my traditional hi to certain people that I know who have done this in the past. a lot of us in this business remember our first real push with a grassroots company where we won a major championship in that company. And there may have been 25 people there. There may have been 50. There may have been 250, 300, 600. Doesn't matter. Because, yes, we want to be able to share it with everybody. We want to be able to sit back and go, yes, we did it. No, I'm not doing the really bad Rocky Balboa impression right there. Although I could do it and get away with it. The moment, here's your soundbite for the rest of the week. The moment is what we allow it to be. If it's one person, no person, or 100,000 people, the moment is what we allow it to be. So, shifting over real quick, Gronkowski, I like it. I think it's a cool move. Bringing him in as host. Dear Rob, please go back and watch when Dwayne hosted WrestleMania. Mistakes were made. Please don't make those same mistakes. Yeah, you know what I mean. We all remember that show. Yeah. Dwayne did good, but The Rock, the real Rock, would have done better. End of story on that one. Phil, anything else you want to throw in? I know you had to step away. You may have heard something a little bit different on perspective.
No, I'm good.
Shane, last word.
A WrestleMania like none other. I mean, 2-night deals. We've seen WrestleMania 2 in 3 locations. Now it's an event spanning over the course of 2 days. And I guess my question would be, as we know the card tentatively, as we know it, what do you close night 1 with?
Titles.
A, it's got to be a show, a closer. And 2, you're like, it's not going to be there for night 2.
Easy. Night 1 goes to Reigns and Goldberg. Night 2, McIntyre and Lesnar. Which leads me to this, gentlemen. Did WWE Creative finally find the chemical formula to keep Roman Reigns being booed out of the building and winning the Universal title? Yes or no, and why? Shane, I'll go to you first.
10, 15 years ago, I'd have said yes. Unfortunately, with the IWC, there's just too many people who see through this, that know now that that's the intent, is for Roman Reigns to get cheered and make Goldberg the villain, the guy who squashed the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and took away the hottest thing that we've got, and put all the heat on Goldberg, and the lesser of two evils, a Trump-Hillary situation where you got to root for Roman Reigns, right? I still don't think they would have gotten the desired effect on that.
Damn, I wish I had the applause queued up for you doing that one.
Oh, no problem. I thought it was a good analogy there.
It was!
Because I'm like, you know.
It was! And I'll leave it like this. It only takes me a couple of seconds to find the applause button.
Yeah.
Just like Johnny Carson had the applause sign, I have the applause button. And now,
well, of course, now with it being the Performance Center, there will be no booing of Roman Reigns. If it had been taking place under its normal circumstances, I think you're casuals. But how many people go to Mania now that are just casual fans?
Probably about 30% of the capacity. I think 90,000, you're probably going to have about 30,000 that are regular fans, casual. Everybody else is special event. You think different?
I think
I'd
it's
say about 10 to 15% of your locals in whatever market that it's in.
Okay. Okay. Difference between local and casual. Sorry about that. I was taking casual as people who regularly watch the product. Yeah, I'll agree. 10 to 15,000 out of the 90 would probably be locals going, what the hell's going on? Okay, I'll buy a ticket. Phil, you're about to say?
No, I was going to say, I think you get a weird mix anyway with a normal television audience. You get a lot of people who are more smarter to the wrestling business, who kind of like what you said, like fans know what's coming now and they're a little tired of it. They just don't want to get the same thing again.
I blame the internet.
I mean, you can blame the internet, or just, the fan base has changed, the storytelling has changed. The WWE changed the rules when they got legislation changed in Jersey. Like there's all sorts of things that have led to the point that we are with our own fan base. Fan base is. So what I was going to say was, I think a lot more of the people who attend are just generally smarter to the business, and then don't give the WWE the response they want, because the WWE hasn't learned how to work with that difference. They really haven't. Like, just when you think they have, it seems to go sideways again.
4 words: the audience of one.
How there's a large vocal minority.
There's a vocal minority and a vocal majority.
Right.
I mean, it's like, okay. Yeah. Do I really want to open this can of worms?
I mean, let's face it. The majority of the mainstream fan base is not on Twitter. They're not on Facebook. But the reason they use the phrase vocal minority is because you certainly hear them.
Oh, God, yeah.
You certainly know they're around. And the WWE has to know they're around too, but it's not the majority of their fan base. They've done surveys. They've looked at who's commenting. They get it, but it's not the majority of their fan base. And so, but at the same time, it is growing in that direction. So how do you work with and cater to that audience? And I see, you are seeing independent companies that are very aware, very keen that they have a great audience interaction on their social media. That is one of the ways they engage their crowd. And that just shouldn't be lost sight of, but they're not the only crowd. To me, it's like promotions that only do their promotion on the internet, and that's it, and then wonder why they don't get another paying fan.
Well, okay, that's something that I've hit before, because you and I have had this discussion on Back to Basics before about 3 words: timing is everything, as it pertains to promoting on social media. And we all 3 have different experiences with it from different areas. And my argument is, for those who keep, okay, it's the difference between a friends page, fan page, and a group on Facebook. Exactly.
Sorry.
Would you like another sound effect to go with that? But yeah, that's something I'm gonna save for the next hour. I do want to flip the script a little bit, because there's a number of different things that have been going on. This just crossed my mind. No, I'm not. I'm going to do it strike while the iron's hot. You made a reference to social media, and I'm going to play with that one for a second. I was listening to Busted Open this morning, and thank you to LaGreca and Bully for actually finding a way to go either live or pre-recorded. I give credit where credit is due, and this is just me for a second, kids, and I'm sure I echo my colleague Cinnamon on this one. For every one of our shows, not our, but meaning Beyond Ringside Sports Radio, but I'm referring to wrestling talk, MMA talk, sports talk, boxing, all of the above, that have found a way to go live in one capacity or another, much less if you're used to doing a 3-hour show and you tape a 1-hour show and upload it to the server. More power to you. We live in one of the weirdest times we're ever going to go through, folks. And there are some people, I mean, look, we go live because we have the means to go live. Now, if I'm not here, we don't go live through this venue unless other things are done. But there are, I mean, Sirius XM is cut back to a skeleton crew. You've heard LaGreca and Bully Ray talk about that. That's why they cut their show back to an hour. And I think this morning may have actually been live. The audio quality was better than yesterday. I caught part of the replay, and that's it. But you have other mainstay shows in the world of entertainment that have been clipped, so to speak. It's no secret. One of my favorite shows right now, and has been for the last little while, has been Dan Le Batard. They're still doing an audio version of the show, thank you, because the Clevelander is shut down, where their base of operations is, all the cameras, all the monitors, all the computers, blah, blah, blah. But they're still doing radio, thank you. Same thing with Golic and Wingo. Same thing with Get Up. They're still doing a modicum of video. Separate cams. So for everybody, and it's like podcasting is a totally different animal. See, okay, I'm doing this because of the fact that I take the replay. You know, Phil and Shane and Ted and Grubby, Stan Grubb, corner to corner. They've all made the reference to the word podcast, even though we are LIVE live right now at this moment, 9:12 p.m. Central Time on March 19th. Technically and realistically, this is live radio. I own an internet-based radio station. Now, even when we're finished and I do post-production and get this back in the server, it's a replay on the station. It's when I move it to Spreaker, Podomatic, and different sources, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, in addition to about 6 other different sources, then it falls into the realm of a podcast. So there's still that defining line in place. But that part aside, I was listening to a little bit of Busted Open, getting back to the original topic. And we all monitor social media and participated in certain degrees. One thing that was said by Bully Ray just kicked me straight to the core. And that was the fact that during the NXT AEW run from last night, on his personal feeds, he only saw one person talk about NXT. Everybody else was talking about AEW. Taking that into consideration, and I'm sure he watches different people and watches all the hashtags too, just like I do. If you see that, your discussion about the show was minimal last night and the other show is blowing it out of the water or knocking it out of the park. If you are Vince McMahon, what goes through your mind about that scenario taking place last night, Phil Stamper?
I'll be honest, I missed a lot of last night. I just did. And sorry, I'm actually reading coronavirus stuff right now. I'm so sorry. So what was your question again?
I was about to say, did you miss the question?
Totally missed the question.
If you know that the other company is actually dominating social media on a given night, remember NXT was taped, AEW was live. But if you see that the other company is being dominated or is dominating social media because what everybody is saying about the other company, what goes through your mind as the boss?
I mean, any company should be looking at how other companies of similar veins are doing their marketing strategies, and then the returns. I think the thing that is challenging is, the WWE's been in the number one position for so long, and there's a lot about Vince that he doesn't want to change things, because to a degree he's already changed enough for them. This is my faraway perspective, is that the WWE brought NXT to television, have NXT fight against AEW. And we talked about this before on this show about how that was probably the smartest thing that WWE could do, so it wasn't looking like it was another totally mainstream product on the level of a Raw or SmackDown. Oh, look, they're competing against the student show, the developmental program for the WWE. And I'm not trying to dismiss anybody in the NXT because they are some of the best athletes in the world. That's not where I'm going. AEW, some of the best athletes in the world. That's not where I'm going. I think the perspective from a Vince, who doesn't quite yet always seem like he's bought in on the concept of NXT. Looking at, well, I'm going to put this other program up against them, and now the comparisons between AEW and NXT, not between AEW and Raw or SmackDown. So in that way, he's capitalized them. He still is cornering that market. I don't know if he's giving a directive of how, hey, we really need to look to change. And you know what? I know one of the people who is involved in the social media of AEW, and I don't even think AEW does a good job on their social media. I mean, they misspelled, I can't remember if it was Beast when they were talking about Nyla Rose about a week ago.
Yeah.
It was like, come on. Just do better. Or, they could just hire me. And I lost you again.
No, you didn't. Heard every word you said. And for the record, they could hire all three of us.
There you go. Yeah. Yes.
And right now, Guinness is going, what about me? I'm glad you're able to listen while coming back from the Iditarod.
Well, he's not here right now.
There you go. Give him time. Poke. Shane, your thoughts on that one?
Well, I mean, not surprisingly, I thought AEW did it right with a little bit of actually having the wrestlers out in the crowd. I thought the segments with MJF and Shawn Spears gambling on the outcomes throughout the night was good. A part of me is like, oh, man, this stinks to debut Brody Lee and Matt Hardy empty. But at the same time, I'm like, I haven't seen the ratings. You may have had some more eyes on the product last night to see the debuts of Brody Lee and Matt Hardy.
I'm trying to get this one. Wednesday's Dynamite drew 932,000 viewers on TNT. NXT drew 542. AEW ranked. Yeah, almost double. AEW ranked number 20 in the cable top 150. NXT ranked 81. AEW ranked 65 in viewership. NXT ranked 85. NXT ranked 85 in viewership. Hang on. Let me do this. We're doing this live, kids. Shane, I believe you were going to follow up on something? Or did
Was I?
I thought so.
Oh. I thought that it was just a different dynamic because WWE has now ran a SmackDown. They've now ran a Raw with no one there. And even though you may not want to bring in ticket buying public, having the heels on one side, the baby faces on the other, my first thought was the Land of 1,000 Dances video from the wrestling album in 85.
Yeah.
Just seeing that dynamic. Because you don't see that, at least under happy times, unless it's like WWE where we see the loss of someone of the active roster where you bring them all out on the ramp to ring the 10 bell. We don't see the entire roster, heels and babies, interact. But to see that in that manner, and AEW actually did, think about it, matches. I cannot believe on Raw Monday night, what were there, 2 or 3 matches total in their allotted time slot? Now, I know you don't want to give away the farm coming into Mania, but we already complain about lack of wrestling in your program, and now with nothing else to do, we give you even less wrestling on that program.
Let's do it.
I could make it all the way through, I'll be honest with you.
We are the Fatal FM 4-Way. Ted Guinness, welcome in, buddy.
Gee, great to be here.
That was loud.
Yes.
I know. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're up in Alaska coming back from the Iditarod, I know.
Oh, yeah. I had to eat all the dogs on the way down because everyone's, raided all the bread and stuff, so I figured I'd get the jump on it.
I figured you'd make yourself a natural snow cone.
No, there's too much yellow snow.
In Alaska?
You know he was in Alaska?
Say what, Shane?
Did you know he was in Alaska?
Oh, please. I'm pulling up Anchorage and setting sail. I know mine was more of a stretch than yours, but what the hell, it worked.
That's all right.
Ted, I'll give you a chance to catch up. Come on in, buddy.
What'd I miss?
I know you were listening.
Well, actually, I wasn't. I was out buying a 65-inch big screen TV.
Oh, okay.
I braved COVID-19 for an enhancement of my entertainment.
Tedrick, what's the weather like up in the last frontier?
Oh, it's actually really nice. It's like mid to upper 50s. I'm wearing shorts and a football jersey, and it's comfortable.
Global warming is a beautiful thing. I actually said that in public. No, we're making a reference to last night, the fact that AEW dominated NXT on every front, including social media. One of my original points was the fact I was listening to Busted Open, and Bully Ray made a comment that he was watching his social media last night. I saw one person make one comment about NXT doing a good job, and that was all he saw, and everything else was mentioning AEW. You want to weigh in?
No, because it's. I mean, I'm not gonna fault WWE for not putting on a bunch of stuff on their TV program. Look, you have two rich owners, one who is old and set in his ways, and one who is has a youth dynamic to him. So, and because they're new, they can't really afford to peter out. So, yeah, they're going to put on all the matches. They're going to get the baby faces and heels to sit out in the crowd and interact. And it's going to be different. It's going to be a good time. WWE right now, they're scrambling. They're trying to figure out first of all, how the hell they're going to recover from losing a 70,000 seat gate. There were a lot of jokes going around with Super Letdown that, why have WrestleMania when you're basically doing it in Saudi Arabia? Well, hey, guess what? You got your WrestleMania payday, so just consider the Saudi show a wash, and you're fine. As far as what to put as far as content and put the wrestlers and crew at risk, I don't really fault them for doing what they're doing and trying to keep the exposure limited. Just simply because WWE is a publicly traded company. They have shareholders that they have to report to, and within those shareholders are people that not only have sports entertainment stocks, but also have medical stocks, have other corporate stocks that are tanking right now. So they're more interested in PR and damage control, where AEW doesn't have that legacy and all that to worry about. So it doesn't hurt them to throw caution to the wind and do that. Now, whether they continue to do that next week in front of another empty arena would be curious to see. And if they do, kudos to them. And with WrestleMania being split into 2 days now, you know what? I'd rather watch 2 days of WrestleMania in a shortened format than one 28-hour long production. So, maybe it's not a bad thing. It's forcing people to think outside the box, and it's really giving you a solid glimpse into not only the mindset, business acumen, but the creativity of these two very rich individuals running very successful wrestling programs in two very distinctively different ways.
Let me bounce on this one for a hot second, as we are 25 after the hour, getting ready to go to the top of the hour break in just a couple. Shane started to allude to it from this past Monday night on Raw. Let's go ahead and do this. Do you feel, better yet, I'm not going to dangle one out there. I'm just going to ask the direct question, going in traditional order. Was it a good thing to show the Men's Royal Rumble Monday night on Raw, yes or no? And if not, why on either one? Shane?
No, I mean, again, I go back to the time frame. If it was the 80s and 90s where you had to purchase the pay-per-view, but how many of your audience has probably not got the net and saw this match in its entirety?
Philip?
Part of me thinks, if they are drawing 3 million people in on Fridays, it probably would have been better for them to do it on SmackDown. Even though the winner was on... Is Drew McIntyre on Raw or SmackDown? I'm so
Raw.
Confused now.
It's Raw.
Okay.
He was on Raw.
I almost feel like they should have done it on SmackDown because it would have gotten more eyes on the product. And for more of an audience that might be outside of the container of those who are watching on the network. Potentially.
Tedrick?
I'm going to say absolutely it was a good idea to put it on Raw here for two reasons. One, Raw is still a 3-hour presentation, whether you like it or not. USA is not going to back down on that. So, hey, we have an hour-long match that we can throw out there and fill. Let's go ahead and fill that and format around that. Cool, great. Two, it gives fans like me, who thought the Rumble this year was a tremendous match. I've gone back and watched it a few times. If I'm sitting on my couch flipping through the channels, hell yeah, if I see that on the TV, I'm going to stop and watch, especially if it's free and I don't have to make an extra effort to log into the network, find the pay-per-view, fast forward for 18 minutes till I can find the right cue of where I want to start it. It's right there for me. It's gift wrapped it. I'm lazy. I'm instant gratification generation. So, yeah, absolutely. Love it. Would I recommend pulling that trigger every single week? No. You're going to have to get creative and figure out ways to fill around those gaps. But for maybe the lapsed fan who was trying to figure out what's going on with WrestleMania, to give that Royal Rumble and to show Drew McIntyre going over huge in Houston is a great way to reintroduce maybe some of those casual lapsed fans that may have checked out Raw just out of curiosity to see how they were handling the mass hysteria.
And I echo that sentiment for the most part, with one slight twist. Yes, I enjoyed the fact they put it on the on USA Network. Yes, I enjoyed they put it on Raw. The only thing I would have changed is the positioning of it. Now, granted, you wanted to try to keep people tuned in for the Austin segment, which we're going to talk about a little bit more in depth in hour number 2. But in this circumstance, they could have done a tremendous build. And coming up during our third hour, we're going to show the men's 2020 Royal Rumble match in its entirety. I think that they could have done this, they could have built this, and I think the numbers would have stayed consistent and or strong. But I think putting it in the middle of the show is just like one of those situations where you feel like a rain delay at NASCAR and you're changing the channel. And you're going to come back in a few minutes. Rain done yet? Can we race? Nope, it's still on. Okay, change it. If you because the match itself was good. The men's Rumble match this year was good. And yes, I agree, it was the tale of two Rumbles. You had the Lesnar chapter and the McIntyre chapter. And they built McIntyre beautifully during that match. Beautifully. Even with the nut shot being the catalyst for Lesnar going over the top rope with the Claymore. I was fine with that. It was everything from an fecal matter moment to holy hell, they did it. And I popped big time when they set it up that way. So I just think it would have been better if it had been the third hour. Because USA, I'm pretty sure, they got most of their programming laid out anyway. Including stuff that hasn't been aired before. But you had a golden opportunity for the build. Fans, tonight is a special treat. We're going to show in its entirety the men's Royal Rumble match. You give me an hour and a half build on that, because remember, this match was long. You're going to maintain most of your crowd. Now, if you did case point scenario, the whole scenario, gonna wait. Phil, last word.
It's all over the place. They're just trying to fill time with content, and they have a little bit more fluidity in what they can do to try to fill some of that content, because I think of some other companies that just don't have that flexibility. But I'm reading so many other great things that I can't wait till we come back from after the break and just break down even more insanity in the world of wrestling.
Well, then tell you what, let's go ahead and do it. Folks, hour 1 is in the books. Hour 2 in just a couple of minutes. This is the Shooters Gallery on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network, ProWrestlingRadio.net, and the Beyond Ringside Sports Radio channel on TuneIn and the TuneIn mobile app. Stay tuned.
This is Dr. Tom Pritchard, and if you want to listen to the best in professional wrestling, get locked in to Beyond Ringside.
This is Country Jack, Corey Hollis, and you are locked in to Beyond Ringside. When planning your next party or special event, insist on the best. Full Range Entertainment is a professional entertainment company providing a full range of services. From professional disc jockeys and MCs to catering and photography, when the details of your special day must be perfect, call us first. Wedding receptions, corporate parties, school functions, birthday celebrations, and more. We also have Birmingham's largest selection of karaoke tracks available. With over 40 years combined experience, Full Range Entertainment can provide you with the talent and professionalism you need and deserve to make your next event one you'll never forget. For more information on the full range of services we offer, call 533-HITS. That's 533-HITS. Or check us out on our website at fullrangeentertainment.com.
This is Super Cop Dick Justice, America's favorite wrestler, American-born hero. And right now, like a stiff bear hug, you are locked into Beyond Ringside.
In a world, are we ready? We're doing it?
Yeah, go.
In a world where the apocalypse has happened, you think you're going to get your cool steampunk gear, but instead you're at Walmart in your pajamas.
Coming this fall, people of Walmart in 3D and IMAX. Rated R.
You can see the COVID coming at you. Would it be a co-video?
Oh.
Okay, that was it. I'm done.
Oh,
Yep.
God. No, you didn't.
Don LaFontaine is rolling in his grave right now with laughter.
Yeah, probably. I'm laughing too hard. I actually can't do my version of LaFontaine. For those who For those who don't know the name that we just mentioned, forever, the man whose voice was synonymous with movie trailers, especially the big releases, was a gentleman by the name of Don LaFontaine. This is a gentleman who I've had the ultimate respect for because of the way that he carried himself as far as when he did VO work, voiceover work, for all the different trailers, especially for movies, did a few for TV, did a couple of commercials here and there. Also want to say a very special shout out to a person who pretty much has him nailed, and that is Pablo Francisco, stand-up comedian and actor. I caught him doing that a couple of times back when Carlos Mencia had his own show. By the way, welcome back to the Shooters Gallery, hour number 2, Fast Steady Lane. Welcome you back in, Ted Guinness.
Hi.
And welcoming back in, Phil Stamper.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Shane Knowles had to disappear for a minute. He's going to give me a call when he's able to come back on. Probably waiting on the car horns to pass him by. Either that or a train. I don't know. You know, and this is something that I want to do this. I was going to save it for last call, and we're going to just make it this segment or this part of a segment, so to speak. If you have my personal Facebook, first off, hats off to you. Second off, not everybody does. If I don't know you, I don't normally, if I worked with you, if we have mutual acquaintances, then sometimes yes, but if it's just sheer non-business, no, but I did make this one public. For as much as we've been through in the last few weeks with the Wuhan coronavirus or COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. It's your business, not mine. Everybody has the way that they identify it, and that's great. I'm not going to fault anybody, period. You know, I will never take for granted the jobs being done by our first responders, especially those in the hospitals and the clinics right now who are on the front line for so many cases around the country, across the country and around the globe. I will never sell them short. One group that I want to put in this play, so to speak, or add to that list, in a totally different, yet similarly important realm. I'm now going to refer to people who work at the super centers, the stores, the drug stores, I'll just simply say it. Places like Walgreens, CVS, Walmart, Target, Dollar General, Family Dollar, all these different stores, Kroger, Publix, you name it. Because these people are legitimately busting their ass, some cases nonstop, to keep shelves filled. They're not having the luxury of a lot of what other businesses are doing and shutting down. These people are the rock stars right now that aren't, I mean, the part that brought this into the forefront for me was when I was in a store earlier this week and a person was yelling at a stalker, well, why don't you have this? Da, 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 da. It's like, shut the mortal blooming coitus up. I'm not dropping the F-bomb. Hashtag hell damn ass. I mean, I even approached and said, do you not think that they're trying to get stuff on the shelves as quickly as possible, but they have their orders that they're trying to fill? I don't care. Well, that's the problem. Maybe you should. And I turned around and walked off. Because I give all the credit in the world to the unsung heroes in any given battle, in any given war. And yes, I agree. We're in a war with an invisible enemy. Not unless you have a microscope, you can't see it. And same thing going on right now. We're all feeling a pinch. All of us in the middle class, upper middle class, and those less fortunate, we're all feeling a pinch right now. I feel for my friends in the bar and restaurant industry because most of them are out of work. And they're worried about paying their house note, apartment rent, car note, insurance, power bill. I almost got ill earlier today when I received a note from Spectrum, a company that is putting themselves out there as we care and we're in this fight with you. They sent me a disconnect notice. So right now, screw Spectrum. But Alabama Power made it a point to send me a note going, if you need help paying this bill, please let us know and we'll work with you every way we can. My bank for my car note sent me a note. If you're having trouble, please call us. We'll work with you. I appreciate those companies that are stepping up. And Spectrum is what I use here at Studio One. If there was something comparable with good enough speed, I'd be using them right now, especially after that disconnect notice. Like I said, there's a synonym for coitus that I would love to use right now. But I'm not. But right now, seriously, I've watched people lose their minds on staffers at Walgreens and CVS and some of these other drugstores. It's unnerving. We're all in this fight together. The one thing that I ask, give these people the same kind of respect and patience that you give medical professionals or your law enforcement or your firefighters, because right now they're doing everything they can to get you your stuff and get you on your way. But even they have limited resources that they can work with. I have a CVS 5 minutes away from here at Studio One. Spoke with a young lady on Tuesday. Their next truck is not due until next Thursday, 1 week from today, as we are live on this 19th day of March. All I could do was say, darling, I am so sorry, and I feel bad for all of y'all. Whereas companies like Publix and Walmart, they're getting daily trucks. Sam's Club, Costco, they're getting daily trucks and trying to get everything out as quick as they can. So the only thing that I ask in this regard, I'm not asking you to kiss anybody's ass. I'm not asking you to walk up and say, thank you. If you feel like it, go for it. Just have a little patience and have a little understanding. Because these people are once again doing their jobs to the majority of them. You have some slackers in every damn business. We all know it. But the majority of these people are trying to get their jobs done so that you can get your shopping done. And here's the part that's kicking the ass. I've done retail before in that environment. I've worked for CVS before it was CVS. A lot of these companies, don't allow their employees to put certain items back so that they can use them for their families. They're instructed to put it all on the shelf. You have an occasional person that's getting away with doing it, and you have other companies that's like, okay, look, I know, and the managers go, look, I know you have kids. Here, take this, put it back, pay for it at the end of the day, and take it home to your family. But the majority of these companies, it all goes on the shelf. And at the end of the day, if there's anything left, then they get a shot at it to take it home to their family. So please, remember, we're all in this fight together, and we're doing what we can where we can to take care of ourselves and our families and those close to us. And one other little thing I was going to say for last call, and once again, I don't mean to sound preachy. I swear I don't. One thing that, for those of us that are healthy right now, one thing to consider, as you have people who are going to hospitals and clinics and are sick, some of these people may need blood. Some may need transfusions. If you are healthy and able to do it in a safe environment, please consider giving blood or plasma. Either one will help. And you could make the difference in any circumstance. So keep those in mind. If you have the time, which a lot of us do, and you are healthy, please consider giving blood. Okay, I'm done with that part. And yes, that was my side of the coin a little bit earlier. Traditional order, gentlemen, anything you'd like to add to that or follow up, Phil?
So it's weird because, I mean, if you are a follower of the show, you know I work in higher education. I think I've kind of put it generally out there, even if I don't name the school. We've been sort of monitoring what's been going on with the coronavirus since January, because we had a potential student who had it, or we had a student that potentially could have had it back in January. So we've been sort of talking about this since January. And I remember sitting in a room 3 weeks ago talking about what might happen next. And we never thought, and we have people on our team who are national pandemic experts and leaders in emergency management who were like, it's not going to get there, but, you know, here's probably the most we're going to do, blah. And now talking about the impacts that this is going to have for us for months. We have shut down events. Our commencement at the end of the year is probably going to be moved. All classes are going to be remote. And I think this is just the beginning of some stuff. And so I'm hearing this on a daily basis. But today was the first time in about at least a week and a half that I really actually turned on the news for a minute and heard the mayor of New York speak. And there was a legitimate concern that in 2 to 3 weeks, the New York medical system is going to be overwhelmed. The New York City medical system is going to be overwhelmed. And they're certainly seeing a big boom of cases and severe cases in New York City. The USS Mercy has been dispatched to New York to try to help alleviate with the non-critical patients that, there are still. And that's the thing that's happening, is that life is still happening for other people. So the non-critical care cases that need to happen and be treated still need to go on. Tomorrow at one of my campuses, we're going to lose power because one of the transformers went out and they have to fix the power grid. So 2 buildings are going to be without power. And it's like, so life is still kind of going on through all of this too. And it is, be attentive to what people are saying now. It's going to get a little bit more critical in the next few weeks. And because all of us who are on here are in various different stages of what's happening, both in Virginia and Maryland, basically all restaurants are locked down. You can only do takeout or carry out. Of course, a lot of things have been encouraged. A lot of businesses are closed down, doing remote kind of work for the most part. Some places around the country, because now there's, all the things with stock market crashes. There's some places around the country you can get gas for $1.50. Hasn't come to here yet, but I
I got $1.69.
$1.69 down you.
Yep.
Pennsylvania has ordered very strict guidelines for what businesses can and cannot be open. Los Angeles has just shut down a lot of things. New York's governor has just announced the suspension of mortgage payments for those who are facing financial hardships for the next 90 days. But don't worry, Las Vegas, because the Little Darling Strip Club is going to offer drive-through strip shows and nude hand sanitizer wrestling.
Wait. Please say that one more time.
This is the headline. Little Darling's Strip Club to offer drive-through strip shows, nude hand sanitizer wrestling.
Okay, couldn't resist. Go ahead.
This comes from KTNV 13 in Las Vegas. Starting this weekend, guests will be able to drive up to the front door, pay $100, and enjoy a 10-minute XXX show from the comfort and safety of their vehicles. The XXX nude hand sanitizer wrestling will begin on Saturday.
Okay.
And if you want to talk about the insanity of everyday life, Baron Corbin was recently a guest on After the Bell, and he admitted he is frustrated with his current spot in the WWE. Quote, "I want that spot with Lesnar and The Rock. That's why it's a double-edged sword for me, because you put me up there at the top, but you're not handing me the ball. Give me the ball, so now I'm frustrated going, what do I got to do to take that? And then I finished with Roman, so I have to cycle back through. So now I've got to scratch and claw to get that top spot."
Save that story for just a minute. I want to wrap up the COVID talk for real quick. So, Ted, I'm going to toss it your direction. Your thoughts on everything that's been said by Phil and myself.
I've got nothing intelligent to add to the conversation. Normally, this is when I would come up with something witty and sarcastic, but in the interest of respect for what's going on, I'm going to pass.
I think people listen for us to say something witty and sarcastic eventually. I mean, I've yet to do it, especially the witty part. God knows I've got the sarcasm down to a science, but, hell. Let's jump on the topic that you just brought up. Philip?
Yes.
Baron Corbin. A person who was getting worse than go-home heat for the longest time. Did Roman Reigns actually get, and the storyline involved, Baron Corbin over as a respectable heel? Yes or no, and why? Ted, I'll go to you first.
No. And it's through no fault of Roman's. It's just this King Corbin gimmick is just the drizzly schlitz. Until they can shed him, until they can kind of shed that off of him and just get him out of these stupid gimmicks, let him be back to more of the Baron Corbin that he was in NXT, he's going to be floundering and he's going to be frustrated because he's going to suck and he's going to get that X-Pac heat. So until Vince decides that, let him be him and show what personality he has, because he does have a good heel personality when he's allowed to just do it. He's just going to continue to flounder and keep fighting for that top spot, but he'll never get it.
Philip?
I'm sorry, he's not that guy. He wasn't that guy when he first came in. Who was the guy that did the Cape Fear gimmick for a minute in the WWE?
Waylon Mercy?
Was it Waylon Mercy? That was the level of Baron Corbin to me. I mean, he's gotten a lot for what he's been able to do. But he's not that guy. He really, to me, he's not. But also, the landscape of the WWE is modified for a different kind of generation now because, they've made it so convincing that almost anybody can be a champion. So, I don't. When he says like they haven't given me the ball, you've been in main marquee matches. You've had some tremendous storylines in the last year. Is it just about the title for you? Like, I don't know.
Not everybody can be the top person, top guy, top woman.
Right.
I wasn't a huge fan of Baron Corbin down at NXT, FCW. I thought that he was almost to the level of Mojo Rawley overhyped. And I'm still okay. This is the closest during the program with Reigns. That's the closest he's ever come to being a genuinely respectable, near top tier character. I just don't personally see him as a top tier character. But here's the situation. Not everybody can be, and not everybody should be. You've got scenarios in play. We all want to be at that top tier, and if you don't, get the hell out of the business. We all want to be the absolute best and respected for being the best and recognized as the best for what we do. If that's not your goal and ambition, get the hell out of the business. You're taking up space. There were people for years, and are still in use today sparingly, who made... Okay. Tell you what, I just got the message, Ted. I'm going to go ahead and do it blunt style. Go ahead and take it, brother. Do shameless plugs, and I know you've got to call it a night.
And I probably should too, to be honest.
I don't really have anything to plug tonight. I was going to record episode 1 of Pro Wrestling Review last Saturday morning, but I came down with a bad case of bronchitis, and it's just messing with my voice. So I'm going to take a couple weeks off, start tweaking a few things. I want to get it just right before I completely air it. And I'm still trying to gather matches. I only have 3 or 4 usable ones that I can use right now. So just kind of laying low. But if you want to check out what the pilot episode looked like, go to YouTube and look up Pro Wrestling Review, spelled REVUE, and you'll find it. And I thought it was an entertaining show.
How is the second book coming along?
It's kind of on hold. I was having that nerve issue with my neck that was affecting my hands, which was making typing very difficult. But now that I seem to have overcome that with a ample dose of steroids, I'm getting deeper into that second book. I have it all laid out. I have one mechanical thing that I have to try to figure out how I'm actually going to put into words to make everything make sense. And then it will be ready by July 31st is the release date.
See if you can find a copy of Dragon Naturally Speaking.
I don't like using those programs. I like actually typing it out because for me, if I'm just talking it out, it's more like me just taking notes. But if I'm sitting down there and typing,
yeah,
I feel more of a connection to the words that I'm putting on paper and more connection to the character and the story that I'm developing.
Okay, that's cool, brother. I know you. Go ahead.
I assume you asked because you've read at least some of the first book.
Some of the first book, yes.
What do you think so far?
Digging it.
Cool.
Digging it.
That's the thing. I've had a lot of people buy the book, but I haven't gotten much feedback, so I'm kind of twisting in the wind going, all right, well, is it worth actually doing the other 2 books, or, does anyone care?
And is the first book still available?
Oh, yeah. Still available on Amazon for, I think, $6.50 on paperback or $1.50 on Kindle. It's called Fireminder, all one word. It's kind of a lifelong ambition for me to get this trilogy out, so it's something that's near and dear to my heart.
Appreciate you, brother. Enjoy the rest of the night and have a good weekend.
All right, man. You too, Phil.
You as well.
The voice, Ted Guinness. couple of things I want to hit before we go ahead and call it a night. And making a quick move off to the side. I want to throw this one at you, Philip. And folks, I want your opinion on this one. At Beyond Ringside on Twitter, Facebook.com/Beyond Ringside, and also Facebook.com/Beyond Ringside Live, as we're going to start heading for the radio ranch, as I've called it for decades. And yes, I do mean decades. Aside from pro wrestling, which WWE and AEW have both shown they have the capacity to go live and put on entertaining shows, and mixed martial arts to a degree, remember UFC Brasilia. What other sports could actually be held in a safe and conscientious manner in our current circumstance? Phil, what's the first one that pops in your head?
I mean, it's funny because the first one that came in my brain was like table tennis, but no, because you do kind of share some of the equipment. Like even the ball going back and forth, technically that's could potentially pass a contagion.
By the same token, you can always replace the ball.
Yeah, you could say bowling if you constantly clean the ball. Shoot, I was just thinking something, and are we gonna get to the point of like bocce ball?
I was actually thinking tennis.
Yeah, there you go.
You could actually change the ball out if you maintain service. If you and I are playing tennis and we start game one and I maintain service, that means you're not touching the ball with your hands. And unless it's a miscue on one of our parts, you're not touching it with an exposed part of your body. The judges are removed from the court to the point where they are normally, it would be a safe distance away, including the field or the umpire, who is elevated, and even though he's right at the net, he or she is technically removed from the action in the field of path. So if you lose the point or you lose your service, or the service changes naturally through the course of the scoring system, then you would change balls. And in the meantime, you would have an opportunity to either do like a quick Lysol disinfectant or something like that, spray the ball, set it off to the side, let it dry naturally in the sunlight. Of course, tennis doesn't play in the rain. So there is an opportunity for that. Also, to a degree, in my book, billiards. One person's at the table at a time, and you can always go back and wipe it down. I agree. Bowling. The capacity is there. Remember, if you're touching your own ball and you're not touching anything else, guess what? Risk minimized.
Yeah.
Archery. There are high caliber archery competitions that are going on, and even well, you have to be careful with cornhole.
Yeah.
Ain't that right, Beavis and Butthead? I don't think we could get curling in under that umbrella. But the one that actually has me in curious mode right now, and it's run with minimal or without fans at all at different points in time, depending on exactly when the race is done. And yeah, I'm going to mention NASCAR. One driver, one car, minimal crews. You have the you basically have the any other time I just had the word pop right in my head. But have any other ideas, concepts, sport classifications of sports popped into your head? I mean, hell, what about darts?
Very true. How about, I mean, cornhole is already kind of exploding out there.
Because I remember, I think I made this reference when I was joking about Ted doing the Iditarod thing. Scott Van Pelt, one of my favorite people on ESPN, and I just screwed up his name. Van Pelt looked like he was ready to turn cartwheels when he said, "I have results of something I can give you tonight." So, I mean, granted, we live in a time where, no, the NFL's not going to play anytime soon. Major League Baseball's not going to play anytime soon. Although baseball could actually get away with it. Social distancing inside the dugout. Because when the players are on defense, all 9 players are a respectable distance away. And if you're playing in a dome, even better. But still, even outside, the wind is going to blow in different directions. Just something to think about. Because you said that there are some actual shows that are in pro wrestling that are going to be taking place over the course of this weekend, right?
Yeah. Minimal amounts. And there are a couple that are looking at doing like empty venue kinds of events. So we'll see.
Okay. Folks, before Phil cuts out, I'm going to throw this one out there. Normally, Phil is part of a team, actually the spearhead of a team, that runs a wrestling calendar. That's been put on hold. Well, I'll let you take that part. Go for it.
I mean, just with everything going on, it's been so hard to try to keep up. I mean, it's hard to find events sometimes to put on there, but now I'm having the opposite issue with so many things canceling. It's just so hard to keep up to date with what's going on. And realistically, I think now we're looking at shutdowns of public events probably for the next 2 months. And so, we're talking about it maybe June before possibly there are public events again. So there could be this transition, and I need to talk to the website owner or the coder for WrestlingCalendar.com for can we, specify the events that have some kind of a live feed, whether it's going to be, an empty building or if they are going to have a crowd, just to see what we could help promote. Kind of in that same vein, Wrestling Revolver has launched iRevolver. And what we're doing is we're highlighting matches from our history. And during it, we're going to post in the video the direct PayPal addresses of the talent you're watching. And that if you would like to give something at this time, give it directly to the talent that you're watching. It's a little bit of a different technique. We're not trying to take the money into Revolver. We really want to give it to the talent that are hurting right now.
Right.
And many of us are. And so, we know that not much can be given by some people, and that's fine. But if anything can be given, that's great. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I seeing today that the seriousness of some states and cities that they're taking to shut down more and more services. The question of even doing an empty venue event might be too risky. So you have to pay attention to what your local government officials are telling you that you can and cannot do. And even that, I had even thought about, well, maybe I'll take just a weekend and I'll go now see a friend in Georgia. I can't realistically, I might not be able to do that because what happens if they make a sudden in-day decision? Oh, we're going to shut down gas stations. Unless you're a medical provider. So realistically, things like this and this isn't me trying to scare anybody, but just looking at sort of the pattern and trend. And I heard a reflection, and I'll be honest, I don't know if this is true, but just how in the state of Florida, people who were still at the beach the other day.
Yeah.
The videos from people at spring break who were like, I'm young. If it gets me, it gets me.
Or last week at Disneyland.
Right. That this is serious. And so if we're not willing to take it serious, then more drastic actions are going to be taken. And if you look at what's happening in New York City right now, where really the whole reason for this quarantine, and people have joked about flattening the curve, that doing what we're doing right now, majority sheltering in place, trying to do this social distancing, the whole point of it is not that people are not going to continue to get sick for a while, but that let's say we didn't do preventative measures. Okay, a lot more people are going to get sick a lot faster,
right,
and it's going to overwhelm our medical services.
Right.
And so the whole purpose of this is we're just mitigating and buying ourselves a little bit of time, so the healthcare system doesn't get overburdened.
Blindsided and sacked.
Right. And New York City is reaching a crisis point. Just the volume of people that are having significant medical issues. So it's not like, oh, I think I have coronavirus. It's they're going through something where they have to have medical service provided, that there is a real concern in 2 to 3 weeks they could be out of medical supplies. Pennsylvania, as part of their restrictions, have said no elective surgeries in the next, until this is over.
Yeah, same thing down here.
Okay. And I heard that recommended, but I didn't know places were in effect doing it.
So sorry, Tiffany, you can't get your boob job this week.
Right. And it's just, this is going to change. It's going to change very fast. Things are going to happen that were unexpected. I'm a part of our emergency operations group that also does have a frontline service. And every day I feel like I've had to tell my staff, okay, we're going to modify a little bit. Okay, we're going to change up a little bit. Okay, here's another change. And I'm just trying to stay on top of it to give my staff, because I have a staff that are concerned, of course, about, being sick and the risk there, but also realistically, the financial concern. If I basically shut down some of our services, they're not a benefited employee. They're not going to be paid. So what can I give them to possibly work on from home? But when I'm a primarily front desk operation, do I have enough to give 55 people? And the answer is no, I don't. So trying to find those things that I can give people to work on, where do I make those cutoff points? That's really honestly where I'm at now. And it's not fun. And I don't envy anyone who's trying to deal with making those decisions, working under these circumstances at all. But I think there has to be also, for those people who are in those roles, some special considerations. For example, Pennsylvania made this statement, okay, all universities are closed. Well, yeah, everybody was moving to remote online working anyway. So now that you've blanketly said universities are closed, is your online instruction now gone? Which wasn't really made clear in the governor's order. So, there are things like that have to be worked through sometimes, and it just is going to take a moment. This is an unprecedented event, or near unprecedented. Nothing in our lifetime
comes close.
But look at the Spanish flu. When it hit, there are interesting trends. And when I say this, again, very different disease. That's the Spanish flu. This is the coronavirus. 2 different diseases, different causes, different things all around. But when the Spanish flu hit, which was a swine flu, there were 2 waves. The first wave eerily mirrors what we're seeing right now, roughly about a 3.1% mortality rate, unproportionately targeted young adults, highly. And typically our younger population or older population are most at risk because of a younger person's, their immune system isn't as fully developed. The older person, their immune system is a little bit deficient. And so to have something that attacks the young adult population very virulently is weird. And it almost uniquely, the Spanish flu targeted people within their 20s. And so when it went away, as many seasonal kinds of flus do, when it got warmer in the northern hemisphere, people thought, okay, it's gone. Well, it didn't go away, and it circled back with a more virulent strain that next fall.
It mutated.
To what?
It mutated.
And they are saying that possibly even when it first came, that there was a mild strain and a major strain, and the major strain kind of got subdued based on how they were treating patients and troop movements, because it was right in World War I. And that's could also be why it more unproportionately targeted young adults, because you're in the middle of a war, a pandemic occurs in the middle of the war. Well, who's fighting in the war? You're young adults. So when it came back in the second wave, it had an 8% mortality rate. But that's because they also didn't do any of the social distancing that we're doing. As it hit that 8%, then they shut down everything.
Yeah.
And I'm reading, it's again, just eerily similar things. And it did help to curb it. And so looking at it, it's, the things we're doing now where people are really upset, really complaining, oh, this is all conspiracy, which I hate. I'm like deleting people now because I just can't look at it in my feed anymore. the whole point of this social distancing and shutting things down and lowering the curve, flattening the curve, is so we don't get to a point where we're exhausting our medical resources, where we aren't spreading it at such a high, ridiculous rate of critical life loss. Because think of it, if there's no medical supplies, then part of the issues that do with mortality rate during an epidemic or a pandemic, is because now you don't have the medical staff, medical supplies to treat the people who could possibly be treated. And that is realistically some of this issue. And in a super weird way, the other week, I have an ongoing stomach issue. I just got checked out with an endoscopy, and my doctor ordered a brand new drug that I've never been on before, and it has to be it's manufactured, which I don't even know the medicine I'm going to be taking. It's a compound of some kind. Well, they can't get one of the drugs because it's in short supply right now. And so they can't make the compound. And it's like, so it is impacting other people, and it's just going to take a while for us to get through.
You know, I love a good conspiracy theory, just like a lot of people do. And sometimes the wilder the theory, the more I actually get sucked in and actually want to do my own research. But there are some theories out there that I just have to simply sit back and look and go, what the hell were you smoking? And there's 100 different ways that 100 different people can look at the same damn thing. And I agree with the concept of the social distancing. You know, there's a time that I actually practice that more often than not because I'm a hermit. I'm a workaholic, but I'm a hermit. I'm the one who basically is the origin of the phrase hiding in plain sight. I've been doing that for years. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I hide behind my own walls. You made a reference to, and we're going to bring this back to our home territory for a minute. I want to go ahead and extend an invitation. Companies is one thing. Wrestling, sporting events, if you are running a live event that can be classified in the most strict sense possible as safety first, empty arena, something similar to that, but you want to run this live event, please, Facebook.com/Beyond Ringside. Send it over to me. I'll share it. In the time that Beyond Ringside Sports Radio has been around, whether it was Beyond Ringside Live, Back to Basics, Shooters Gallery, Midweek Meltdown, Saturday Showcase, any different incarnation, but of course, Beyond Ringside Live, the Sunday show, was the franchise and has been the longest running. We've had the privilege of having a lot of different people from a lot of walks of life in the professional realm on the show. I extend this invitation, especially for those in the world of pro wrestling, but I also extend it all the way across the board. Mixed martial arts, boxing, other sports. If you have, God, Phil's going to laugh his ass off when I say this next part. If you have, per se, a pro wrestling tees store for yourself, or if you have another company that's backing you on t-shirts and paraphernalia, God, what was that other one that I know that the used to be Team IOU was booked through? But if you've got a merchandise store, and once again, I don't care what part of the country, what part of the world you work in, send the link over, post the link on Beyond Ringside, the Facebook friends page. I'll share it to the fan page that way. That way more people can see it. Now, this is something that I'm very picky about. Retail companies, I will not share, and I will delete your post. If you are an individual and have your own store set up online, send the link over. We'll share it. This is where I'm going to be a prick. For Pro Wrestling Tees, don't bother. But once again, as a entity, Pro Wrestling Tees, no. And any other company like that, no. A specific store, yes. Your particular part of the site. So if it's ProWrestlingTees.com/BodySlamBody, you can do that. Like I said, Pro Wrestling Tees doesn't want anything to do with us, so therefore, as a direct one-to-one entity, feelings mutual, kids. Sorry. But, like I said, for those of us in the business, please, the offer's on the table. Because out of the 4,800 people that we have on that friends list and 1,700 on the fan page, there are people in the business, but there are fans of different businesses as well, and I'm sure that they'd be willing to try to help support if they're able. So keep that in mind. Offers on the table all the way across the board. If you got, I'm not going to advertise streaming services or anything other than that. We can work something out for corporate sponsorship if you would like to advertise that style of service. I'm talking about for grassroots companies. The door's open. And I'm actually quite open-minded when it comes to a lot of things, but there's some things that, I'm sorry, I won't share for free. You can call me a prick all you want to, or any other pronoun in there you want to throw in. That's fine. My home, my rules. You want to enter my home? You're welcome. But just respect my house. That's all I'm going to say. Phil, I know that you've got to get ready to run. There's a couple of things that I want to hit, and I'm going to go and hit on those after you depart. But if you want to throw shameless plugs, fire away, my friend.
You can follow me on all of your social media channels at PS Phenom. That's PSPHENOM. And of course, tomorrow is our next release for iRevolver, which you can follow on all of our social media, Wrestling Revolver, at PW Revolver. So Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We will be streaming Man Scout versus Tent from Nightmare After Christmas.
Nice.
It was I will say it's one of the most asked for matches that we share. High Spots wants us to share it, so we're sharing it. And we're really excited to do so, and really excited about giving away, or maybe we can put the opportunity for some fans to contribute to some wrestlers directly and show their support and appreciation while everything's going on.
By the way, something that I know you're connected with and something I've been a fan of and wanting to try to get a little bit more involved in, I am glad to find out that a certain corporate entity has decided to change their stance on something and not continue to screw with WrestleCon, that this is actually being done in the proper manner. And
yes. I'm very happy for them. I'm sure they're very happy it's worked out too. Because the owner of WrestleCon was basically like, okay, I'm selling my house. He just was at that point where he's like, I don't have any other options now. It's going to be that point. And fortunately, with the declaration finally in the state of Florida of like, this is a real issue and we have to shut down services, officially, that now they recognize their clause in the contract. I can't remember what it's called, but
I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah. That allowed them to say, okay, we'll just cancel it and it'll be a wash. And the thing is about this too is, and this is the thing that I think is going to come up in a lot of conversation. Yes, there was a very real issue about people in our communities who are going to begin to lose income. And not just begin, but it could last for a long time. And mortgage companies, landlords need to look at it this way. Okay, are you going to miss a payment this month and then be without tenants for several months and then try to find somebody at the same rate that you're not going to find because our economy is going to take that deep of a hit for several months? You're going to put yourself at that kind of financial risk versus let me give them maybe 1 or 2 months leniency because of everything that's going on. And I understand it. It's a cost. You have to feed yourself too, but it's where are you able to work with people to get through the next couple of months? So in 2 to 3 months, when things start to recover and there is perhaps some more sense of normalcy or different ways that people are moving forward, that they're going to be back on their payment. They're going to be back on getting things taken care of appropriately.
Yeah.
And so it has to be thought. We have to think of some things a little bit differently. I will say I was so frustrated the other day when in my office I got 3 telemarketer calls, and then my switchboard, literally in the course of an hour, we get on this like cycled rotation with a particular telemarketer company, where we were flooded for an hour with 115 telemarketer calls. And it's like, are you kidding me right now? You don't think we're just gonna not hang up on you? It's just overwhelming and just ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. Tell you what, let's tackle this last topic together. I'll do my last call and we can bug out of here at the same time. You up for it?
Sure.
Okay. AEW last night. You know, we talked, I brought out the stats. NXT was running a live show. I did not see it. I'm going to go back and watch it later. AEW, I watched as it transpired. Awesome outing by AEW and everybody involved in, of course, from the opening with Cody that originally started going in one direction, and then he turned it into a unifying moment for the elite, or at least the members that were there. I thought that was well played. I thought it went just a hair long, but you know something? I'm okay with that. Cody, even without having a script, is rock solid. I keep wanting to say Matt, and I think I'm right. Jackson sounded good. Sounded almost polished in the way he delivered his. Kenny Omega has never been awesome on a microphone, but he sounded good. And then Adam Page coming out the way that he did with the tip of the glass or toasting, yeah, I thought that was perfect. Well played. Did you catch that segment?
Yes, I caught the Matt Hardy segment, yes.
No, not Matt Hardy.
Oh,
I was
sorry.
talking about the opening segment.
No, I didn't. Sorry.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do this one. Whereas everything's been put in play, AEW ran matches last night, ran some solid matches. I love the factor that they had heels on one side, faces on the other side, and you had MJF and Shawn Spears betting on the outcome of matches. I thought that was ultimately hilarious. I do think that proper precautions should have been taken because of the fact that we all know, especially me better than a lot of people, that money in and of itself is one of the nastiest things in the world. So unless you're steam pressing it or dry cleaning it or running it through the spin cycle or hand washing it, oh God, especially in this circumstance right now, I would not be doing that much trading around of the money. But the main thing that I want to hit real quick before I hit, as I probably already did my last call a little while ago, I got one short one I want to throw in. 2 debuts last night. As the Exalted One, Brody Lee. Number 2, the Elite brings Matt Hardy on board. Excuse me, and I'm assuming that he probably still has the IP for Broken Matt Hardy, because God knows I don't want Woken. Sorry about that, kids. I heard a question earlier, or saw a question and heard a question earlier today. Could they have actually waited a little bit longer to debut one of those two, or do you think they did well by debuting both at one time, or both in the same show? As a matter of fact, the same hour of the same show. Phil?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they could have spread it out, especially knowing that we might be without crowds for a while. I don't know. There is such a different kind of vibe and a sense of excitement around the things that AEW does. I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, they should have spread things out.
Which one meant more to you? The debut of Brody Lee as the Exalted One, or the debut with Vanguard 1 and or 2, whichever one it was, and Matt Hardy?
That is a really good question. And I'm kind of stuck by, because I think people are shocked that it's Brody Lee. I think that was unexpected, which in a way is amazing to see. Or not in a way, it is exactly great to see. And, you know, it gives that, again, that suspense of like, wow, we really could just see anything happen. Where Matt Hardy, of course, there's more buzz about it. There's more that opportunity that it could be the whole Broken experience again, and really reinvigorate that for even what Matt Hardy's called, like, this may be his final run in the world of wrestling, and what he was really looking forward to possibly doing now.
Who do you think would make the better Exalted One, Matt Hardy or Brody Lee?
Who says that Matt Hardy still can't be involved?
That's true too. Short version on my part, I really enjoyed the debut of Brody Lee. I enjoyed being able to hear him actually be able to speak. I think that this is untapped potential. I've worked with him in previous days before Luke Harper. He never really got a chance to shine as Luke Harper. I believe right now, with the direction that AEW is going, that he will get that opportunity, sorry, Baron Corbin, with that ball and get a chance to run with it. I think that it's going to be a definite positive all the way across the board, and I'm enjoying it. I'm digging it. I like it. As far as the Matt situation goes, Matt Hardy is one of those where you don't have to have 90,000 people in the stands for him to make his return. Because everybody who was watching the screen last night, you had 5% of them go, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. And the other 95% was going, yes, they got him away from WWE. Finally, he gets a chance to be himself again.
Right.
To which I'll simply sit back and say, Vince, sorry, didn't work. You can try to kill him, but you can't kill Matt Hardy. He will never die. And even when he gets to the end of an in-ring run, there is no saying that Matt Hardy cannot be a good manager or mouthpiece for a individual or faction. Case point scenario, Jake Roberts with Lance Archer.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that would... Go ahead.
No, I thought I heard something for a second. What was I going to say? I just have to say really quick, love the fact that I saw Kyle Matthews. I loved that moment. Sorry. I don't know if you saw the segment with Kyle Matthews in it, but
I think I did.
Yeah. Or with Jake Roberts sitting there in a mountain in the middle of nowhere in a wrestling ring. Like, I was like, all of these pieces, I'm just in love with this right now. This whole little segment. What is that? I'm hearing like a background noise somewhere, and I don't know where it's coming from. It's driving me crazy.
Are you talking about this? Hold on.
I don't hear anything.
I had music bed running underneath.
Oh, gotcha. I don't think it was that. But anyway, regardless, I don't know. I think it's interesting because, you know, things were certainly building and getting prepared for what the world of professional wrestling is going to look like for the next little bit. And, you know, all of that is different. Now it's going to change again. And so it's sort of like who positions themselves better where, how does all this work? And just, you know, in a way, we're going to see an entirely different, we're going to have a very different world when we get done with what happens in the next couple of months. And I am saying couple of months, and I'm hoping I'm not freaking anybody out. I really am not. But just realistically, I think this is what we could really, really start to see happen.
First off, I got a short last call that I'm going to throw out there. Thank you to everybody who's been listening live this evening. Greatly appreciated. To everybody who's catching us on replay, all the different methodologies, humbly appreciated all the way across the board. You know, everybody deals with situations in their own way. We talk about people being put out of work, people losing income. I am part of that group right now because normally I'd be throwing a plug for Friday night karaoke at Buffalo Wild Wings. Last Friday night was my last Friday night for a while, and I think it is for the foreseeable future. When we get things back under control and when we get things back moving forward and get through this, and we will get through this, it may take some time. And, you know, I will be back with B-Dubs. We've already had that conversation. It's like as soon as they're able to open again and allow customers in the building, that first Friday night, we're back at it. But right now, I'm doing everything I can. I want to remind everybody, of course, and this is on a separate yet similar note, I drive with DoorDash and I drive with Grubhub. And I was supposed to start this week with Amazon. That last one got put on hold. I want to remind everybody, plain and simple, DoorDash and Grubhub have both instituted contact-free policies. If you're not sure what I mean by that, it's in your apps respectively, and they'll tell you. When you order through one of those two companies, your driver goes to the venue to pick up your food or whatever you've got. They keep it in their bag, zipped, secure, including drinks, depending on where you get them from. When they arrive at your location, that driver will come to your door and set everything in front of your door, on a table, in a chair, on the patio, doesn't matter. They will knock on your door as they are walking away. Any driver who does this differently, please contact the app or contact the company for which that driver is a contractor and have them reported. because you have the right now. I believe both companies, it's an automatic setting for contact free. I know that when I do it, and I know it's a world of difference from what y'all have heard me do in the past, but hey, I'm having fun doing this. So if you order through one of those, and I'm sure Waiter does it by now, Instacart does it by now. I'm not sure about Uber Eats or any of the others. I have no contact with any of those because I don't know anybody who works for Uber Eats or any of the other companies. I know people who work for Waiter and Instacart, and like I said, I'm with DoorDash and Grubhub. So please remember, both of those companies in particular, I can speak firsthand. We're doing everything we can to make sure that what you order arrives in a timely manner, in a professional manner, and in a safe manner. So if you're considering using one of those two companies, I recommend it easily. And like I said, make sure if it's not an immediate feature, make sure to select contact free. Once again, that's taking one step out of the equation because the driver's going to take a picture of where they leave the food and send it to you. At least that's what I do. So keep that in play. And if you're in my home market of Birmingham, Alabama, I may just be bringing your stuff to you. What the hell? The other one, you heard me make a reference earlier to Spectrum. I don't know what to say about that because Spectrum tries to say, well, we'll work with you, and they send me a disconnect notice. Yay, team. But I'm dealing with another circumstance right now, and this happens at the absolute worst effing time. For those who know me, you know where I live. I'm dealing with a situation, and I will use the word subdivision very closely, very, very remotely. They were doing work with the main regulator coming into our subdivision, and I did not know anything about this. The HOA, or the front office, did not contact me. They didn't let me know this was being done. No note, no text, no call, no nada. No carrier pigeon smoke signal or whatever. And then when they went to turn the water back on, they screwed up, and the pressure resulted in not only mine, but also a couple of other places in the facility having pipes burst. Some before the meter, some after the meter. Mine just happened to go boom after the meter at a major T connector where I've got certain parts of the house that they can't get water. And lo and behold, since I had no knowledge of it, the water just kept running for a couple of days. That's not the problem. The front office has said they'll work with me on that because they know that I wasn't here. But unfortunately, in this circumstance, I don't have the resources right now to actually get a plumber out here to work on that. So if you're in my home market of Birmingham, Alabama, and you know somebody that would be willing, and I'll just say, screw it, I'll say it. Where Studio One is located, it's in a mobile home. It's my dad's old place. There, cover blown, curtain pulled back. So if you're in the Birmingham, Jefferson County, Shelby County area, and you know of a plumber that would be willing to come out and do this on a reasonable price basis, I'm going to pay. I have no problem with that. God knows I think that the place I live in should actually pay for it too. But I've got to pay because I've got to get something done so I've got water here.
Yeah.
So please get in touch. You can go through the Beyond Ringside Friends page that says Eddie Lane. If you have me on the personal page, it's Eddie Lane Powell. There, I said it. And I'll be willing to sit down and talk with the person that you recommend, and we'll see if we can get something worked out. Any help would be greatly appreciated. You know, I'm a proud bastard. You're not going to see me set up a Venmo or something like that to try to drum up money that way, or I don't have the resources right now in the timeline to do Patreon or something like that with exclusive content that we could offer. I wish I did, but I don't. This is probably the most real you're going to hear me on certain shit. There, I said it. Ha ha. Hashtag hell damn ass. Go figure. Shane, Phil, who normally says it, Ted didn't say it. I did. But let me go ahead and do it like this. Folks, we're going to head for the Radio Ranch. Any help that you can offer up in that particular regard, it would be greatly appreciated. Let's take it home at Beyond Ringside on Twitter, Facebook.com/Beyond Ringside, Facebook.com/Beyond Ringside Live. Remember, on the replay side, you can catch us everywhere from Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. There, I said it. Plus, if you listen to the TuneIn app, you'll catch some of the previous episodes that took place here on the Beyond Ringside Sports Radio channel. Let's take it home. Shane Knowles, appreciate you, brother. Ted Guinness, appreciate you. For the president of wrestling, Phil Stamper.
Live long and prosper.
I just watched Star Trek the reboot yesterday. Still dig that movie. I am the Magic City Motor Mouth, Fast Eddie Lane, saying until next time, join us right here on the Shooters Gallery on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network. Bye for now.